Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Les Snead and Sean McVay had a ton of comments at today's league meeting out in Florida. We'll talk about what they said and all the other possible rule changes coming up on this off-season episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, Rams Nation? Welcome back to this off-season episode. I'm Ian. That's Mark. Like, subscribe, and share this video and podcast on the other side of things with all your fellow Rams and football fans. We very much appreciate it. But Mark, how are you doing today, dude?
Pretty good. A lot of the little trinkets coming out of the league meeting, a lot of things to talk about, and just over 3 weeks to the NFL draft, which is one of my favorite times of the year. So getting pumped up about that here.
Yes, sir. And at Rams Nation, we'll have tons of mock drafts, ranking players by positions, maybe not necessarily 1 through 10, but by tiers. And we'll figure it all out. We'll have tons of videos within the next 2-3 weeks leading up into the draft. So you have a better grasp of who the Rams should select with all their picks, especially the important ones, rounds 1, 2, 3, and beyond. But today, league meeting, a lot of fun little tidbits by Rams head coach Sean McVay, by Rams leadership in the front office, Les Snead and Tony Pastores. But I think the most alarming one for all of us, which has gotten Rams Nation in a very interesting debate amongst the fan base, is that general manager Les Snead says Coleman Shelton, who spent a year with the Chicago Bears and their season went up in flames, coaches got fired and a bunch of just bad things in the organization, but they're trying to rebuild now on the fly. He comes back, signs his 2-year deal, but Snead says he will start at center? Wow, Mark. Crazy.
Yeah, and if you read between the lines, what I read was, I believe it was Snead saying that, Coleman Shelton brings the ability to communicate up there, up front, and kind of a low blow, a low shot at Bo Limmer for one play. Maybe it's more than one play, but he has to be referring to that debacle in Philadelphia, the one play. But overall, I think we all felt Bo Limmer played pretty well.
Yeah, this is a quote. This is what Snead had to say. That ability to communicate to all our young O-line and maybe even our veterans, maybe in an audible situation, maybe when things change and being able to handle that in the moment, it was very vital. Who added that Limmer can also play guard and keep developing as a player. So, look at the last couple plays in that playoff game against the Philadelphia Eagles in the snow. It was as bad as it could get. Let's just call it what it is. To let the best D tackle, arguably currently playing in the NFL, with top 5, Jalen Carter, kick your ass basically and ruin any legit chance to have a game-winning touchdown. Which, again, I think Higbee gets that first down easily because C.J. Gardner-Johnson, their former safety, fell in the snow. Higbee was open middle of the field. Stafford had another second, he would have hit him. There's just no debate about that. And then, do we score a touchdown after that? Who knows? But there's a great chance that happens. So for that to happen, and let's not forget Kevin Dotson having a false start a little before that, a couple plays earlier, that really blew us up. So not only Bo Limmer, but I'm not going to give Kevin Dotson a pass here for his false start, for their lack of communication between them, to not say, hey, let's make sure we get a top 5 D tackle, blocked multiple times in a row. So for all this to be just on Bo Limmer and just like we're yanking the plug on him, basically, is what Snead is saying. It's kind of crazy to me. You want to bring in Coleman to battle for the job? Got no problem with that. Competition brings out the best in anybody, no matter sports or not. But for them or for Les Snead to be like, yeah, I expect him to start, is wild. Because objectively, with my own 2 eyes watching film every week on Bo Limmer, was it perfect? Absolutely not. But I rewatched some of Coleman Shelton's film this last year with the Bears. He got his ass kicked a lot. And for them to just be so definitive about Coleman, who, again, played good football for us when he was with us the last, previous years, for him to just have that definitive answer, it's crazy to me, Mark. It's crazy. It's crazy. Just because Bo Limmer had a couple bad moments with Kevin Dotson, crazy, dude.
Yeah, and I've voiced this opinion several times. I think it's kind of odd for a general manager or even a coach to essentially hand a starting job to a player in March. And I've heard coaches for many, many years talking about, who their starting 5 is, who their starting 11 is, and they haven't even started practicing. And to me, that's just very short-sighted. Now, at the NFL level, it's especially short-sighted at the high school level or the club level to not give a fair shake to everybody on that roster. At the NFL level, I get it. They kind of know who they're leaning towards, but it should still be an open competition. Just kind of odd for Les Snead to come out and say that.
Yeah, it is for me. And look, may the best man win the job. Bo Limmer happens to be listening to this episode or heard the news today, which I'm sure he did. Take that as a professional disrespect and go earn that job, because I just think Bo Limmer, a bigger, stronger, younger player who I think overall for the entire season, again, played better than Coleman Shelton did this last year for the Bears. I know PFF had him as a good pass blocking center, yada, yada, yada. I get all that. But watching the tape, not that he didn't have good moments, but there was some bad moments where Bo Limmer would not get bulldozed like Coleman Shelton did, like he did as a Bears center this last season. I think that's a big deal because we're going to have to face some pretty good defensive fronts to win the Super Bowl, everyone. That's just a reality. And I like Bo Limmer with another year of experience, those communication things fixed, him starting at center over Coleman. But again, let the best man win. Still shocking to hear Les Snead just kind of declare that, though. Wow.
Yeah, and if nothing else, the worst thing that can happen, really, we're going to have really good depth along the front line. The interior offensive line. That's the one thing the one positive takeaway, I should say, is, if nothing else, I feel like our front up there, the interior is pretty solid right now.
Yeah, I feel good about the O-line as is, barring health, right? Rob Hemmingson gets out and everything falls apart for whatever reason. Crazy. But may the best man win at center. I do hope it's Bo Limmer. No shot or disrespect to the LA native Coleman Shelton, but best man win. That's all I got to say about that. But in other news, Rams Nation, both Les Snead and Sean McVay, in 2 separate interviews with different people, talked about Stafford's reworked contract and how that will become official soon. As once those numbers are in, the salary cap projectors for all the websites, once it becomes official, all the reporters and insiders will get their hands on it and know exactly, and we will know as well, exactly what Stafford's, pay scale will be for this upcoming season. As many people are speculating, including us, that it's probably around the $40 million per year range. Obviously, it'll only be a de facto 1 year deal, right? Next year will not be guaranteed again. But Sean McVay said that, hey, they had tough conversations, and Stafford made a lot of financial sacrifices to come back and be the quarterback of this team. And McVay also alluded that it was he was very appreciative, and it was very humbling to see a player of his caliber do that and want to do that, and knows that that would lead to big moves happening. Devontae Adams coming in, Alaric Jackson being re-signed, Puna Ford getting good starting money, and others, and so forth and so forth. That, and then also Tony Pastores commented on what our money man GM, I like to call him, as Les Snead is on the personnel, building the team with physical players. Tony Pastores is the man who figures out all the contract cap, physical cash players are getting, all the financials. Tony Pastores handle that. So they both said that, yes, paperwork's executed, just finishing the last nitty gritty, but those things will be done soon, and then everyone will know what he got paid. So, Mark, what do you think Stafford got? Honestly,
I think your number's a pretty good guess, and I really struggle trying to understand the salary cap situations and how these contracts impact it, because you can go to all the different sites and every reporter, and they're all slightly different. But it was pretty clear that the way that turned back to the Rams so quickly, Stafford had to just realize, I want to go to a Super Bowl, and these other teams, it's not going to happen, and it might happen with the Rams, so I'm coming home.
Yeah. Now that we're many weeks away from the stress of all that, with Stafford talking about Brady at a ski resort and brother-in-law coaching quarterbacks for the Giants and all these other, intertwining things to lure Stafford away. Now that all those are done, we can enjoy that he will be our quarterback to help us win another Super Bowl potentially. I think there's no doubt about it that Stafford was never going to leave, and that he used those avenues, the Brady, the brother-in-law for the other teams, as leverage to get more money from the Rams. And the Rams just simply didn't blink. And that they're like, yeah, go ahead. We'll bail on you. We've bailed on everyone else important in this era, and you're no different. A Cooper Kupp, a Jalen Ramsey, a Bobby Wagner, a Leonard Floyd, a Robert Woods, a Allen Robinson after he got paid, Jonah Jackson after he got paid, Alec Ogletree after he got a big contract, Robert Quinn when he still had big money owed. We can go on and on and on under this McVay era, right? Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters. I mean, doesn't matter. Does not matter. They'll move on from everyone, Rams Nation. Just do not forget that ever, as long as McVay and Snead, the McSnead combo, exists and coexists on this partnership. So they were like, all right, Stafford, sure. See ya if you want that extra $10 million. And Stafford said, yeah, I was just hoping you would do it, but I'm coming back for cheaper. And that's what happened. So
yeah, and the other part of it is, and I maybe put too much weight on this, but you look at it from Kelly Stafford's perspective. To be in Detroit, and I know Detroit's probably a fine city, but there are certain advantages to living in LA for
come on,
right, and to come to LA for a few years and then contemplate moving to Pittsburgh or New York or wherever. She probably wasn't feeling it. I suspect.
Yeah, look, your family is now rooted in the greater Los Angeles area. Your kids are not young. I mean, they're still young, but they're now becoming very self-aware of the world. To be able to yank them out, it's a lot harder. Yeah. All the marketing, the weather, other than the fire stuff going on. Earthquake every now and then. I mean, come on, guys. That's hard to convince a family with the quarterback that's a potential Hall of Famer to bail to the Raiders in Vegas, where it's hot and the team's not good, to the Giants where the weather's cold and the team's not good. All those reasons, plus, the Rams not blinking. now looking back, big picture view, they were always going to stay, and I'm glad.
Yeah.
But speaking of quarterbacks, both Sean McVay and Les Snead are they alluding to taking a quarterback this upcoming draft? And truthfully, I think it's not a bad idea though, Rams Nation. Stafford is year to year. He is older. Could he fall off a cliff? Absolutely. Could he play just straight up, get hurt and that be the end of it, have a serious injury and that just be a wrap and doesn't want to recover and come back? Absolutely. And again, his contract is only a 1-year deal, even though, yes, he does have 2026 under the contract, but they can bail on him and they won't be screwed financially. So, Les Snead said, always open to drafting the quarterback. Usually another team who gets into that more serious level usually drafts that player earlier than we ever would, right? We've had Jared Goff. We've had now Matthew Stafford. We've had even earlier in Les Snead's tenure, we had Sam Bradford, right? And usually we're not picking quarterbacks very high. And Les Snead also said, if a team really thinks that a player is their next QB, it's not likely that they're going, hey, let's wait till the middle of the second round. Let's do it now. If the right guy fell to number 26, the Rams' current first-round pick, and maybe he's the right guy for another team, they might want to move into the first round and draft that guy. So maybe that is better for the Rams than picking that right guy. That's how to honestly answer that question. And then, to be honest, about the dishonesty, if we were really looking at a quarterback at pick number 26, we would probably say an answer like I just gave you. So, Les Snead playing both sides, right? Like not giving up like, hey, we're not interested. And also at the end, they're saying, maybe we are. Maybe everything I just said is a bunch of crap. So that, and then obviously McVay saying in the last couple of weeks as well that they would like to get a young quarterback in to, learn under Stafford. It's valuable to have a Hall of Fame-esque player, to McVay's words. It's, right? Any young quarterback to learn under Matthew Stafford. I mean, just the ultimate pro and super talented, seen everything, can play at a high level when the stakes are high. I mean, that's valuable for any young player on offense outside a quarterback, right, Mark?
Yeah, and I think that, Scott Richmond and I talked about this very point just the other day, that number 26 pick is actually becoming more valuable in this draft because there's a few quarterbacks that are going to go early, and there's some quarterback needy teams that aren't going to feel like those guys are right. And I think I might agree with them. And then there's some later picks where, the Jackson Darts and a couple of other guys that could slip. And, one of two things could happen. Is Jackson Dart the guy for the Rams? Probably not. Who knows? But if he isn't, there's definitely going to be a team like the Giants might pass on a quarterback at number 3, wherever they are, but be really excited about moving up to 26. So the Rams are in a good position.
They are. And to Les Snead's further comments, they won't reach for a quarterback in round 1. And they do understand that other teams will want to trade into that first round where they're currently sitting, like we just explained. But, Snead said, hey, we're in a win now scenario with Stafford. And, they'll pick the best player possible if the right situation comes up at pick 26. But, it's all talk. It could be a bunch of BS. Could they be giving up draft picks to go get a player they want in the top 10? Who knows? But, playing both sides. But I do think they will draft a quarterback eventually, whether it be round 1, maybe if we get a second somehow, 3rd round, 4th. I think someone is coming into the building, Mark. And we'll have a quarterback tier ranking within the next 2-3 weeks, Rams Nation, of who me and Mark think are the quarterbacks that should be drafted by the Rams. And there's always people that are under the radar and all that, but we'll have them in a tier list of some sorts with the quarterbacks and with other position groups. So you'll have our thoughts on what quarterbacks we like more than others very, very soon. But quarterback is coming, I think.
Yeah,
and for all you Stetson Bennett guys out there, I mean, look, unless he lights it up in camp and preseason, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, and probably a good time to mention that we are arranging a couple of Fans First Sports Network's draft experts. They're going to join us probably mid next week, Wednesday, Thursday. In that time frame, we'll be posting our discussion with them, and we'll we'll be pinging them for draft-related questions, that relate to the Rams, what the Rams might do, players that might fit the Rams, that sort of thing. So look for that in probably about 9 days out.
Yep, that should be fun for sure. So we'll see. I'm team Jalen Milroe from Alabama later in the draft, 3rd round and later. I think that would be a good steal. But there's other guys I like as well. For again, not a premium pick, which I'd rather spend that on somebody to help win a Super Bowl than sit in the wings like a Jordan Love and Rodgers back in their Packer days. But speaking of more comments from our general manager, Rams want to extend our all-pro level running back Kyren Williams, but for the right price, which, of course, right, the Rams are wheelers and dealers and will not overpay for people any longer, as we're starting to see. And if they do, they'll bail on you, a la Cooper Kupp, RIP to his Rams career, but a Rams legend forever. As Les Snead said, quote, Kyren's a great human. We all want this to work out. It's just, can we agree upon a contract where we feel like it's a win-win? And it does. If it doesn't happen this year, it doesn't mean that Kyren is not going to be a part of the plan for next year. It doesn't mean that we won't do something a year from now. So according to that, according to how Sean McVay always talks about Kyren, right? A great Ram, great, leader by example, a great A through Z. They always say great things about Kyren Williams, and we do too. We're big Kyren Williams fans here. Me, Paul, Mark. We all have raved about he was the engine of why we scored any points this last season on offense for a gazillion different reasons. But I have to agree with this, Mark. It's got to be the right price. And let me say this, Rams Nation. If he has another stretch of games where he's fumbling away the football and it leads to, crappy losses, bad losses, big time, prime time, playoff game losses, that contract extension is not happening. But I do want it to happen because I do think he's a good player.
Yeah, hopefully we'll bring him back. But the Rams are almost, I'd bet a good sum of money that they're going to draft a running back this year to bring in to compete. And Blake Corum, he shows promise. And yeah, the Rams will move on from Kyren if their hand is forced. Hopefully they can figure. It's tough. It's a tough world for running backs these days because nobody wants to pay them the big money. And I suspect the Eagles will regret giving that contract to Barkley as well. We found that out with Todd Gurley, right? These guys are so impressive with the ball in their hands, but just can't. You can't rely on them for 2 or 3 years out. Just usually doesn't work out for the running backs, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's true. And look at Kyren's gotten. He's a workhorse back to the core, and it's why we've had any good success on offense the last couple of years. Think about all the games in Rams Nation where scoreboard was just awful, but Kyren was still just bulldozing for yards and getting goal line touchdowns where we couldn't throw a touchdown pass in the red zone to save our freaking lives. And I wouldn't say it's on Matthew Stafford either, by the way. Play calling, all this, there's a bunch of reasons why. But he was a big reason why we scored any freaking points this season a lot of times. And what do you have? 14 rushing touchdowns this year? Playing against loaded boxes. It's fantastic. So I hope.
And
go ahead.
I was just going to say that somersault against the 49ers was
beautiful. It was great. And please, McVay, can we get him involved in the passing game? Look it. I'm glad Sean McVay's our coach. Let me just say this every time I want to go on a rant because I know people get irritated with me about my McVay problems, and I don't want another coach. He's not perfect, but damn, can we get the running backs involved in the passing game? Both Blake and Kyren and Ronnie can catch passes. Everyone, they could do it. How about throw a screen pass to Kyren, or use him on those angled Texas routes like you scored against the Niners, where he's going to give it's kind of like a slant out of the backfield, right? Picture a slant around from a receiver, but a running back version coming out of the backfield and slanting in, basically. He could totally kick linebackers' asses on that, him and Blake and others. Let's use that more, please. But I'd rather hand the ball off to him, and I get it, he's productive, but I hope Kyren gets used to the fullest extent in his last season under contract, by the way, Rams Nation, this upcoming year. Right, 2022, 23, 24. Now we're entering that last year of his 5th round rookie deal, which he's getting paid nothing, basically, for being an all-pro running back. Let's use him properly. Let's get him that big payday and no fumbles, please. So we'll see what happens, though, right? We shall see. But speaking of other McVay comments, obviously he loves Kyren. But you know what he doesn't love, Rams Nation? He don't love that tush push by the Eagles. As McVay has joined the competition committee, as that committee is a select group of coaches, executives, other league office officials, and a big mosh posh of high end, important NFL people that come together and decide or lead the charge in any rule changes, any changes to the game, whether it be clock. I mean, just anything you can think of. They're part of that committee that, leads that conversation and will lead any possible rule changes and whatnot. So McVay spoke with Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, earlier this past week. And there was a report where he was seen having a very, not heated conversation, but a very explosive conversation with Eagles leadership, their front office, Howie Roseman and his assistant general manager, which could only be described as most likely about the tush push. So Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, asked McVay, hey, what was up with that conversation? And McVay says, oh yeah, I saw that report, and he's like, yeah, I'll share everything that I told them to you. And long story short, Rams Nation, McVay gave the political answer, but he wants to ban the Eagles tush push play. He gave the reasons about health and safety, which I get, but the main reason is that he said it doesn't look like a football play to me. And that's a nice way of saying, this is whack. Run a play, run a drop back, run a traditional run. I don't like this. Now, I agree with him that the play should be banned. And I was not on this side of it for a while, up until I had found out that there is a rule in place, if you did not know, Rams Nation, where if defenders are pushing and or shoving each other to create force and momentum against an offensive player or ball carrier, that's a penalty. I did not know that. Now, what is the tush push, the brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it, the glorified quarterback sneak? That's what it is the Eagles are doing with Jalen Hurts. What are they doing? Well, they are pushing and shoving upon each other to create force and momentum to get positive yardage. No penalty for them. So because of that, because the defense did it, they get a penalty, and the offense does it, and clearly not getting a penalty, I'm in agreement that it should be banned. Because everyone talks about, hey, equal playing field, quote unquote. Make it fair for both sides. And I know everything is very skewed towards offense and scoring points, and you can't do this, you can't do that as a defender. And it's a tough world to live in. But if the offense can do it, why can't the defense? And if that's not going to be the case, then this play should not be allowed. Quarterback sneaks, everyone does it, but the physical tush push, the brotherly shove of everyone forcibly shoving each other on offense, that should not be allowed and should be a penalty, which I guess would ban the play. And again, because of that info I found out, I am in favor of banning this tush push play. And McVay didn't say those things, but I know he knows them, and he was just trying to give a different answer, about it being a rugby play and esque and all that stuff. And I'm sure their left tackle Jordan Mailata probably had something to do with this, with his rugby days out, out there in Australia. But I say all that to say, how do you feel about that, Mark?
Yeah, I hadn't really taken a position on it, other than I know banning it would be to the Rams' advantage. The Rams and Eagles, two of the top teams in the NFC, very good chance they're going to cross paths in the playoffs again.
Yep.
And so it's obviously to the Rams' advantage. But the more I think about it from McVay's perspective, talking about it not looking like a football play, look at it from the fans' perspective. That's not a fun play to watch, especially if you're, if you're rooting for the opposing team, or even if you're a neutral. It's just not he's right. It doesn't look like an NFL football play. It looks like something entirely different. So take it out. I'm okay with that. And I think it's kind of a dicey situation. McVay talking, I read that article as well, talking to the GM leadership, the Eagles leadership there. And you've got to kind of tread carefully because that's a tough thing. One of your rivals, you're trying to, as McVay said, we don't want to just take away something that they have figured out how to do well for that reason alone. So he's trying to justify taking it away for a couple of other reasons. But I think they're valid reasons, the potential health issues. And I don't know if players have been hurt in
I don't think so either, truthfully.
Yeah, but sometimes let's address it before someone does get hurt, because it's clearly a play that's more, players are more likely going to get hurt from watching it. Sure does seem that way to me.
Yeah. But again, Rams Nation, defensive players get penalized for shoving on each other to create, momentum and force. Offensive players do it, no problem. That's my problem. That's why I agree to be banned my last time saying that. So I'm team ban it. Yes, it benefits us. Yes, it benefits our matchup against the Eagles sometime this upcoming season for the regular season and the most likely inevitable playoff matchup we'll have with each other. Sure, but if they, take away the rule where they'll penalize the defense, then let's go. Let's rock. May the best trench group win, offensive line versus defensive line. But that's not the case, so you got to take this play out. I'm in favor of that. But also, what did McVay say in his Pro Football Talk interview with Mike Florio about rules and other stuff? Excuse me. McVay doesn't want playoff seeding format to be changed, where division winners no longer matter, as this is a rule that's also up in the air with the competition committee that will be voted on, where, hey, we won the West, so we got to host a playoff game. Now, the rule that is being proposed by the Detroit Lions and the NFC North teams is that, hey, if you have a 14-win record, like what kind of happened, why should we be a 6 seed? We should be a top 4 seed hosting a playoff game. Now, I understand an argument, but how many times has that happened, Mark, Rams Nation? Hardly ever, where that becomes an issue, right? And during the COVID season of 2020, this was a possibility, where if every team did not play their full, 17 games, 16, 17, I forgot how many we had during that season, then to be fair and equal, since, maybe some division games didn't happen between opponents, games were missed. They were going to do it this proposed way of seeding it by record overall, not the division. So that was the only time this ever has came close to being a possibility, Rams Nation. But McVay doesn't like it. And both him and Mike Florio talked about how the only way that it would be acceptable to do it that way would be if you get rid of divisions and every team in the conference plays each other, right? So every NFC team plays each other every year. And then obviously you sprinkle in the couple AFC teams that you would, rotate through like we normally do as is. And if it is that way, then I would have no problem with it. But it's not. You have your 2 division games against all your 3 different opponents, home and away, plus the other matchups. It's just, that doesn't make sense. But if the NFL ever said, all right, and every NFC team is going to play each other every year, which would kind of be cool, actually, to think about, then I'd be in favor. And McVay says, if that's not the case, I'm not voting for that. And I agree.
Yeah, it's a silly rule change, in my opinion, because, like you said, the schedules are not balanced. If you're a team playing the AFC South and the NFC South, and you may finish second in your division and have a great record, whereas a team playing the AFC North and the NFC North, it'd be a totally different story. And the thing that's I believe the Detroit Lions proposed this change because, interestingly, it was the Vikings who apparently kind of got screwed this past season. But it changes. It's going to be, in 3 years, it's going to be a different division. It's going to flip. The schedules change every year. Yeah. The way the divisions are aligned. So just leave it the way it is. It's fine.
Yeah, I think so too. So that's what our head coach had to say. We're in agreement. Right on, Sean. But other rules that, we're not commented on by Rams leadership yet, as things will be voted in within the next couple of days, whether things pass or go. And we'll talk about some of these other rule changes or potential, game altering changes, to be honest. And the next biggest one, in my opinion, in our opinion here, is the kickoff touchback will change to the 35-yard line, as with the new XFL/UFL/ whatever FL you want to call it, that the NFL adopted, with the new kickoff that we all saw, where everyone has to stay stationary. They're much closer together. And until the ball either hits the physical field of play within the landing zone, or it's a touchback or a player touches it, no one can move. And I kind of enjoyed it. We saw more kick returns. Was it a ton more? No, but I thought Jordan Whittington returning some of these kickoffs looked pretty dang good, right, Mark? Right, Rams Nation?
Yeah.
He has that speed and agility and that just pure instinct as a carrier runner of the football where you can see those seams, and he had some nice returns. So I'm looking forward to see his returns. But with this new format, if you did kick it out of the end zone or it was a touchback, the ball started at the 30-yard line, which in previous years it was a 25. So this year they moved it up 5 yards to the 30, which incentivized, or tried to incentivize, I can't even say the word, teams to get it into the landing zone. Yeah, you know what I mean. Sorry, I'm thinking of 10 million things in my brain. To get teams to kick it and get returns to happen. Say, hey, well, if you don't get the ball in the landing zone, the team's going to have a better field position. So because the returns weren't as much as the league office NFL leadership wanted, they're saying, hey, let's scoot it up another 5 yards to the 35-yard line. So I'm in favor of this, Mark, Rams Nation. I do want to see kick returns because I think it favors our team with Jordan Whittington and whoever else maybe earns a spot with them back there in the backfield of the kick returns. But I just think, hey, there's going to be times where this play is going to matter. I mean, think about it. Jordan Whittington, I keep bringing up Jordan Whittington because I think he's a game-changing level player for us. And I think it would benefit us for him to get the ball in his hands as often as possible and to break one, which he was close a lot of times where he got some really good yardage. And it is a game-changing play. Think about it, Mark, Rams Nation. Maybe in a playoff game, let's just say they're afraid of Jordan Whittington and they're just going to boot it. We get the ball to the 35-yard line. What a great spot that is. Maybe 2-minute drill, got to get a game-winning field goal. I mean, that benefits us greatly, right?
Yeah, what I'm concerned about is, okay, you start at the 35, so you're basically the way how good these kickers are nowadays.
That too, yeah.
Field goal kickers. So I could see a scenario where teams that have really reliable, consistent, long-distance kickers, you start at the 35, you basically pick up 2 first downs, you kick a field goal, right? Pick up 20 yards. And so, and I have heard discussions about discouraging long field goals, perhaps moving the uprights a little bit closer. I don't know if that's a serious discussion.
Who said that? Was that Jason Kelce, right? He said that? He brought something up, arrow it down, him and the Kelce brothers on their podcast.
Oh, is that
right? Kicking's already hard enough, gentlemen. Look at your Hall of Fame players, your position. We're sorry we can bulldoze and make Hall of Fame level catches and blocks all the time. All right, kicking's hard. Think about it. It's hard.
Yeah. It becomes a really there's going to be analytics done on this. If you're starting at the 35, you get down to the other team's 45. You have a great kicker, but of course, if you miss it, you're giving away great field position. So it's complicated. Yeah. But the 35, I always felt like the 35 is in that this is really good field position territory, right? If you have an offensive minded team, man, the average scoring has to go up if they pass this rule, right? There's going to be a lot more points scored because I guess our teams. What are teams going to do? What would the Rams do in this situation? They're going to try to hit it in the landing zone. Are they going to go, okay, we'll let you start at the 35? I don't know. Probably going to be more landing zone kicks and more emphasis on coverage teams. So
that's fantastic, right? I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor. It benefits us on multiple levels. Now, is there going to be a game probably this upcoming year where if this passes and we get we have bad coverage, or we say, all right, take it at 35 and we get 2-minute drilled and bang, bang, bang? There's a high chance of that. Let's just be real. So many games, bad crap happens every season in a game or two. But I'm in favor. I'd rather have Matthew Stafford with better field position than not. So that's why I'll take that. I'll take the comeback king, the soul snatcher late in games with good field position.
True.
With 35-yard line or Jordan Whittington has a nice run back. So I'll take either one of those scenarios.
Now, if it was our special teams 2 years ago,
Oh yeah,
I'd be crying. But our special teams were pretty darn good last year, so we're
yeah,
making strides in that department for sure.
yeah. Ethan Evans, our 600+ pound squatting, kickoff punter. I'm cool with him having to tackle and not get hurt,
Yeah, I heard
and
him and
so
Bo
on and so forth.
Limmer. I heard him and Bo Limmer are bouncing on weekends at a local bar here somewhere.
Yeah, our hopeful starting center and our next McAfee punter. I'm in on those guys as bouncers. So we'll see Rams Nation what gets voted on, and again, I'm in favor. Mark's 50-50, but I think I'm convincing him as we talk about it more.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, and next big rule
I'd
change.
be
Oh, go ahead.
surprised if it passes though. Right? Do you
Yeah,
think it's going to
I,
pass?
it's 50-50. Defensive coaches are not going to like it, but a lot of offensive coaches I think will be in favor. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. We shall see. But another big end of game scenario rule change is the regular season overtime rules to change into playoff rules. And what is that, Rams Nation? Well, if you remember week 1 on Sunday Night Football, Rams at the Detroit Lions for the whole nation to see, as we had a great game. A lot of players got hurt for the Rams. Wasn't fun for that regard. But, you know, Detroit Lions offense ran the football straight down the young defensive front of the Rams, where it was handoff, 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 game-winning touchdown by the running back David Montgomery, and the game was over. It's sudden death, right? If you score a touchdown immediately. Well, there's a potential rule change that will be voted on where that will no longer be the case for a regular season game. It would morph into how the playoff is, where if you score a touchdown immediately, the team that gets scored on has a chance to match it at least, which is I'd like that so much better. I like that so much better, Mark, because think about that week 1 game, which we'll just continue to talk about because I'm still irritated by that. You want your all pro, Hall of Fame esque level quarterback to have a chance. Now, not every team has that. I get it, which is why, that rule got implemented for the playoffs way back when it was like Josh Allen didn't get a chance in that 2021 divisional round matchup where they were scoring on each other in like 10 seconds each, back and forth, which is what a great playoff season that was when we won the Super Bowl. That whole playoff tournament was crazy. So they changed it for the playoffs. But why not just have it match for the regular season? I think a lot of coaches may vote for that to be the case. Again, defensive coaches probably won't. But I'm in favor of this too, though, Mark, of it being all the same. Regular season, playoffs, you score first, the opposing team still has a chance to match it, and we go from there. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it's just sensible. It's just
Yeah.
obvious that's the way it should be. And we'll have less players confused about the overtime rules. How many
Yeah.
times have we seen players, "Hey, how's this work?"
I know.
So,
Which I think would be Puka Nacua. Shout out to Puka, but he just goes out there and plays football and knows his plays and where he has to be. Respect, no divisions, no rules. I respect it, so it would be better for guys like him. Yeah, but we'll see what happens though. But you're in favor, right? You're in.
Oh yeah, I'm okay with that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just common sense. If
Yeah.
there's a reason they did it in the playoffs. The same reason should apply in the regular season, because regular season games, they're so important. It could make or break your season.
Yeah.
That coin flip,
Yeah,
right?
we've lost on it many a times. I mean, Jesus. We
Yeah.
just gave an example for week 1, but there's other times we've gone screwed as well. So hopefully that passes. We'll see what happens in the next couple of days, Rams Nation. But another really important one, which it's funny of the team who wanted this or proposed for this rule to change. The Detroit Lions have proposed that defensive holding illegal contact penalty yardage to no longer be an automatic first down. So they want it to change. Now, it is funny that the team who plays the most man coverage with their former coordinator, now the New York Jets head coach, Aaron Glenn, where he had a very aggressive man-to-man coverage style defense where you do get handsy, you do get contact, right? You're playing man coverage. It's hard. I feel for DBs out there, whether it be for our team or another. Like, you can't do jack till you squat. And there's some calls that are just so bad. We've seen them for our Rams. We've seen them for other teams and other games we've watched. It just gets so ticky tack. It's hard to play defense these days. I feel for those guys. So the Lions are saying, hey, defensive holding in illegal contact should no longer be an automatic first down. Now, what do we change it to? And I'm going to ask with you, Mark, because I'm curious to get your answer before I share mine. If you had to change it, if you were in favor of it, yes or no, what do you think it should be changed to of not an automatic first, like PI? What do you think, dude?
Well, that's a tough one. I'm in favor of the
Yeah.
rule change. It either has to be 5 or 10 yards. It'd probably be a 10-yard penalty, which in a lot of cases is going to give you a first down anyways.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is I've seen it way too often, and it happens on pass interference calls as well, but it happens with holding too, where a team, is in a desperation mode, 3rd and 19, and a holding call gives them an automatic first down. And
Yeah.
to me, it's overpenalized. It's too much. It's rewarding the offense too much for what often is just a minor penalty, like you alluded to. Referees making questionable calls, giving the benefit of the doubt to the receiver, and bailing out the offense. They bail out the offense way too often with these holding calls. So it probably still have to be a 10-yard penalty, though. What is it now? Is it 5 in an automatic first?
Correct. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Might have to make it a 10-yard penalty, though. So that removes the situation where you're getting an automatic first down on a 3rd and 19 or a 3rd and 17. Give them 10 yards, but no automatic first down. And I could live with just a 5-yard penalty as well. And I also think offensive holding is, offensive holding 10-yard penalty is such a drive killer. I would be in favor of reducing that yardage penalty as well, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and that's not even up for the rule changes. That's staying for forever, probably. But real quick, Rams
I
Nation,
have a bunch of rule changes.
Yeah, we all trust me. We can come up with a giant list. But for this specific one about changing the defensive holding or illegal contact from an automatic first down to maybe something else, I think the scenario where you could argue where it shouldn't be changed is, say it's like 4th and goal. You're at the 5-yard line and you're trying to throw, a game-winning slant to Devontae Adams, right, or a fade route that he's so good on a back shoulder, and he gets held. Now I understand the point of like, hey, maybe it shouldn't be an automatic first, but like, how do you enforce that? Is it like, at the 1-yard line? Do you do it like PI in a sense, which it probably would be pass interference anyway? I'm just trying to think of scenarios where it would be like, what the hell? Do you go half the distance to the goal? And let's say it happens maybe, midfield, and it's like, yeah, we're trying to throw those really deep in dig routes that we like to do where you see Puka catch like in the middle of the defense all the time, or, all the famous receivers we've had that have really made money doing that. And, he gets held or he gets illegal contacted. What is that? Is that a 5-yard penalty and a replay of down? So it gets tricky how that's going to be. And it's tough. I am in favor of it being changed, but I have to really, really think about all the different scenarios and how it would affect. And that's something to think about, Rams Nation. It's complicated. This one's complicated. It's complicated to change it.
Yeah, maybe inside the 10-yard line, it's an automatic first down. You could make something but that gets kind of weird,
It's complicated, but I understand the point of it being challenged or being, up for a change. But it is funny the team that has the most holding penalties and illegal contact is the one who ushered in this potential rule change to be voted on. So that's a big one. We'll see what happens. I have a feeling it won't pass, but you never know. So we'll talk. We decided to talk about it here. And another, potentially big one for other, first down yardage reasons is the chain gang now obsolete as virtual measurement will be implemented or is getting voted on to be implemented, and the use of replay to assist on penalties that are called on the field. So for forever, if you remember the famous primetime game with the then Oakland Raiders and the Dallas Cowboys, where the Cowboys were trying to get a first down, and the ref literally brought out a white, high school index card and was using it to measure the distance of the ball with the chain gang first down yardage mark. And he had that smirk of like, I said first down, but it was kind of BS that I did this. And the whole Raiders sideline was like, I can't believe that's how we're doing this. And they were flipping out. Hopefully you guys remember that was a crazy moment. And I guess to avoid future disasters like that and other questionable, you know, yardage marks where let's think about Rams Nation a couple years back, 2023 campaign, us and the Pittsburgh Steelers playing here in Los Angeles. As Kenny Pickett, upon replay and our views, our viewership with our own two eyes watching the game, he did not get that first down on the quarterback sneak, and we should have gotten the ball back with about a minute left to maybe potentially win that game. But they wrongly marked that he got a first down, even though all the replays clearly showed that he did not get it. So, with the replay, with the virtual measurement, all these wacky scenarios that I just described, index cards, bad spots, should be fixed and will be voted on to potentially be fixed with the assistance of, cameras, virtual, robotic measurements. And I think that's a good thing, Ram Nation. But to add to the replay, it will not be enforced where there should have been like, oh man, that guy totally got face mask, a la when Byron Young yanked on Sam Darnold's face mask on Thursday Night Football this past year, where it was like clear and obvious. There's no replay that's going to go back in and throw a flag in and be like, hey, that should have been called. We're going to enforce it. If there was no penalty flag thrown, replay will not assist on a what if penalty. Does that make sense? Now, let's just say there was a phantom face mask call. Let's just say Byron yanked on his jersey, but the refs threw it and they said face mask. Replay could go in and say, you know what, that was not a face mask. Pick that flag up. So as long as a flag is being thrown onto the field, replay can go in and correct it. But they cannot go in and correct a missed call and say, oh, that should have been a face mask. Those things cannot happen. So all I have to say, Mark, Rams Nation, I think this is a good thing. Mark, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think the one area it's going to impact the most is roughing the passer calls, because over the last few years, there have been so many that are like, come on, man, you are just bailing out this offense on a good defensive play. I've just seen so many offensive quarterback roughing the passer calls that are just didn't happen. Flag gets thrown, and I think it's true. The flag gets thrown for certain quarterbacks more than others, and this will help fix that maybe.
Yeah. And, Matthew Stafford can't get a roughing the passer call to save his freaking life ever. He gets clobbered, and I've seen other quarterbacks get patty caked, hit on the chest, and they get calls. You know who we're talking about, Kansas City fans. Anyway, and others. So I think this is a good thing. Let's use all this technology of the modern era to help the game get the right calls. And I'm not saying stop it for every play, like, oh, that should have been holding there. That should have been this there. Obviously, this is not trying to ruin the flow of a game. But if things are clear and obvious, like, hey, he didn't get a first down, let's get that right. Hey, that wasn't a face mask, or that wasn't holding, or whatever. Hey, let's get that right. So I think this is good things. I think this will get passed if I had to guess, for sure. But another thing that's already into automatic passing is there was no really needed vote for this, is that the NFL is finally going to start loosening up even more on their uniform rules, as last year they allowed teams to have 3 different helmets. You have your primary and you have 2 alternates, whether it be both throwbacks, both brand new helmets, 1 alternate, 1 true throwback. They said, hey, you get 3 helmets to use. You don't have to use any of them. Rams are one of the few teams that have no alternate helmets or throwback. Whack. But they allowed teams to do that. Now, for this upcoming season, they've even loosened up more. So, in previous seasons, you can only wear your throwback helmet with your throwback jersey. You could only wear that designated alternate helmet with an alternate jersey. It could not be mixed and matched. And you can only wear a throwback or an alternate jersey for 3 games. Whether you do all 3 games throwback, all 3 games alternate, you mix and match, that was it. Now the league is saying you get 4 games, and you can now mix and match the helmets with any jersey and any pant and sock combo you want. So you can do it just like Madden, guys. I've done this all the time. Like, oh, I want to give that Rams helmet with this white jersey and this blue pants And I'm sure we've all done it with teams and done fun, stupid little uniform games when playing friends. Now that's real life, which I think is so much better because think about it, Rams Nation, and I know this really doesn't apply to us, but think about all the games you're like, wow, I feel like how would that look? How would that Eagles black helmet look with the green jersey? Or Denver Broncos rebranded last year and got new uniforms, and they were only allowed to wear the white helmet with the navy jersey. And it was like, that kind of doesn't make sense. Now they can mix and match. They can go all white. They can go all navy. They can go orange jersey with white helmet. So I think that's a great thing as the NFL, after the CTE scandal, really cracked down and said, nope, everyone has one helmet. And it was like that for a long time. And I think this will benefit us when we hopefully get a throwback jersey this season or next, when we hopefully get an alternate jersey uniform this season or next. We can start pairing things and wearing things and mix and match if we want to, which in the next couple of years, the Rams will be getting some type of alternate jersey uniform, whether it's this season or next. It's happening within the next 2 years. We'll find out soon, hopefully, before training camp is over, whether that's happening this or next. So pretty cool, Mark. I'm a uniform guy. I know for you, it doesn't matter as much, but I think this is good in the NFL. We can finally just start seeing cool stuff, uniform wise.
So you think it's possible we could see that an alternate uniform or helmet for the Rams this year? It's still possible, or
yes. So if the Rams are going to make any alterations to the current home and away jerseys, we will find that out probably within the next 3 weeks. Why do I say that? Is because that's usually when teams who are making alterations or are rebranding release a uniform. So if somebody is selecting around one and they hang up their jersey with the commissioner, that jersey reflects of what they're going to be wearing, right? So let's just say if the Rams are going to make a change to the home uniform and get rid of the gradient number where it fades from yellow to white, which I hate, by the way. Or maybe they want to get rid of the name tag Rams like logo patch, which I also don't like. They want to get rid of those. They'll have to make that change and announcement within the next 3 weeks. Alternate jerseys do not have to be announced, or let me say, are not allowed to be announced until late June onward. So we won't know if they have or are going to release a new alternate jersey, helmet, all that, and probably until June, July, or late June, the soonest. Probably early June in that month time frame. So think about it, Rams Nation. Think about all the teams who have released an alternate jersey. Would it be a throwback? When we did the modern throwback whites a couple years ago, now they're our primary home and our primary away jersey. That was until like mid-July. So we're going to find out for an alternate jersey. It won't be till then, or a throwback. But if any alterations to the regular jerseys, we'll know within the next 3 weeks. So that's my long answer on all that, Mark, because I know a lot of people are confused with all that stuff. And it's been 5 years since the rebrand. Rams are allowed to change anything they want after 5 years when they initially rebrand logos, uniforms. So for all you hopefuls out there that the Rams will ditch the modern SoFi jerseys, I don't think it's happening. Kevin Demoff and them are pretty stubborn about like them keeping those things, but they are able to if they so desire. That 5-year limit is over as well. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, with their history with uniforms, and I still think their uniforms are among the best in the league, best helmet in the league. I'm surprised that they haven't come up with some alternates because, I mean, that I would get pumped about that, especially if they brought out some of those old school uniforms from back in the day. There's just so many opportunities for them. I think the fans would love it, and I'm surprised they haven't done it.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. They're stubborn. Someone said recently that was in the focus group back when they were getting fan, opinions about the rebrand, that Kevin Demoff said that they didn't want to look like a team from the 70s in the SoFi Stadium when they were launching that. I'm like,
fair enough.
Okay, but the Rams had the best classic look in the NFL, top 5, like by far. Like that doesn't look. You don't look outdated wearing that classic uniform that they wore, since they had been back, right? All the throwback games with Goff and Gurley and all, and they wore them at the Coliseum. That's a lame excuse, but they're going to stick with this Rams Nation. If any changes are coming, it'll be minute. Maybe get rid of the gradient. That's probably it. But I will say this. I do hope an alternate jersey is coming this year because I'm tired of seeing that bone uniform. I will say that. Ugly, ugly uniform. I know some of you disagree. And I'll share my thoughts quickly. why is it acceptable to have bone, dirty water gray, a weird yellow kind of thin stripe, not even like a ram's horn, and then also have a white stripe? And then on the pants, same thing. The base is the dirty kind of bone gray white, then have a big white stripe and then a little yellow stripe. It just looks so bad. The design is so bad. That is a big reason why I'm crossing fingers. We hope maybe get an alternate yellow jersey or just something else. Replace the bone, and the bone is getting replaced because after the last couple of years, they've been slowly phasing out the bone, right? They only wore it 2 times out of the possible 3 when that was the main away jersey for a while, right? So I think Rams are aware that they screwed up on that one, at least. Thank God. So we'll have to wait a while to see if we get an alternate, or maybe not. Maybe they release it all in a couple weeks. We'll see. We shall see. But on a positive note, outside of my disdain for our modern uniforms, Rams are in 7 foreign countries for the NFL's 2025 Global Market Program. So they now have a heavy presence in Australia. They also have it in New Zealand. They also have it in United Arab Emirates. Wow. Out there in the Middle East. Then they also have exclusive foreign presence in China, in South Korea, and in Japan. I mean, wow, Mark. We're everywhere, dude. Rams Nation worldwide, as we're trying to spread these Rams horns amongst the finest countries around.
Yeah, I think we have exclusive rights to
And Mexico. I forgot
more,
Mexico. Sorry, guys. Don't forget about my Brown brothers down there.
But between South Korea, Japan, and China, that's a lot of people that we have exclusive rights to. So, if they can make headway in those countries, that'd be a pretty big deal. Now, I don't know how the marketing works, and I don't know if if teams, fans still latch on to who they're going to latch on to. But from a revenue perspective and selling jerseys and hats and all of that stuff, it's got to be good for the Rams revenue from a revenue perspective for sure.
Yeah, it has to be. And let's just be honest about it. With Japan, a lot of the Asian nations really gravitating towards the Dodgers because of all the Japanese high-level players we have, and our one Korean newly signed gentleman as well. I feel like the Rams are like, let's just hop on that bandwagon too. And you're repping LA, come join some American football too. As again, they have exclusive rights in South Korea, China, and Japan, which I think was a smart little sneaky play by the Rams to hop on that, heavy Asian to LA sports phase that's going on right now with obviously Otani, Roki Sasaki, Yamamoto, and again, apologies, the other Korean infielder that we have for the Dodgers as well. So smart on them for those things.
Yeah, these Rams players got to keep on showing up at Dodger games and vice versa. And guys like Clayton Kershaw, Matthew Stafford sharing the love. Can't hurt, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think Puka Nacua was at the opening game, and I think a lot of fans met up with him, got some pictures. So the intermingling of sports in LA is very strong, and it's also nationwide now, which is pretty dang cool. So hey, for anyone going out to Australia to see the game against Philly and us, I think hopefully there'll be a strong presence. We shall see.
Yeah,
we shall see. But wow, that was a lot to talk about today, Mark. As again, Rams Nation, a lot of these rules will be voted on within the next couple of days for everything that we covered: overtime, penalties, tush push, all the other stuff we talked about. We'll find out the answer to whether these things will pass or not very, very soon. But let us know in the comment section if you're watching here with us on YouTube. Which rule change are you the most adamant like this has got to change? Is it the tush push? Is it the overtime? Is it the defensive holding? Is it the playoff seeding if you're feeling like that should be changed? Or whatever else, chain gang, replay. Let us know in the comments how you feel about all that. And then also, how do you feel about Coleman Shelton being penciled in as a starter by Les Snead? How do you feel about Kyren Williams and the Rams wanting to get an extension together? And then also, how do you feel about the Rams potentially drafting a quarterback, being very, very sneaky about the words they say? Do you want them to pick at number 26 overall, or are you in favor of second, third round, fourth, and et cetera, later in the draft. Let us know all your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in on this off-season episode of the Rams Up Podcast Network. We'll have tons of mock drafts, player rankings that are coming out, and we'll talk about that soon and get you up to date on everything draft related with the Rams. Right, Mark?
Yeah, and those two guys joining us from the Fans First Sports Network next week. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's good to get the perspective from, these guys that are unaffiliated with the Rams, guys from out there on the East Coast, and they're going to share their thoughts on who the Rams might draft and what players would be a good fit. That'll be a good show.
Yes, it'll be a good show. So that'll be coming out within the next week or so, Rams Nation. But again, thanks again. Like, subscribe, share this video and podcast with all your fellow Rams fans. But that'll do it here. I'm Ian, and that's Mark. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys very, very soon. Go Rams.